Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate bone and lung cancer patient, been dealing with cancer since late 2020, diagnosed in early 2021, doing very well. And I am so honored and blessed to be able to meet so many incredible people. And to give you an update, we finally are having some really nice weather here in Texas. Today it's probably, I don't know, in the 80s, so it's really, really nice. Very, very pleasant. Yesterday I think was 90, so it was even warmer. But things are looking good, and we've been dealing with out of town guests, and I'm going to tell a quick story. It just came to me. We My daughter had a friend of hers with her two kids over the weekend, and so I had an opportunity, and I haven't seen it in years. And her friend had two kids, one is 3 and one is 15 months, and then coupled with my granddaughter who's 17 months. And so it was chaos, absolutely chaos. I mean, the 3-year-old was standing on everything, including a tricycle in the house, standing on all the sofas and everything like that. And then I don't know if I should tell this or not. Should I tell this, Allison?
Yes,
Okay.
you have to tell us now. We have to know.
So my daughter has a doggy door at her back door. And so the 3-year-old says, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you what happened. The 3-year-old is going outside the doggy door. And I'm like, what is he doing? And the mom says, oh, he's going to go to the bathroom. I'm like, what? And yeah, we potty trained him to go outside. And
Hmm.
so I asked, what about number two? And she was appalled. And she goes, no, he goes inside for that. And I'm like, okay. And so the 3-year-old comes back in the house and he's all done. I said, well, is he gonna wash his hands? He doesn't have time for that. Like, okay. Not shaking my hand. And so it was a learning experience seeing three little toddlers under the age of 3 just interacting, running the house. I just sat there. I was so exhausted just from watching the scene, and I was praying that we would leave because I couldn't take it anymore. But when we were leaving, so this 3-year-old wanted to ride his bike outside, so he puts on a helmet and he was waiting to get his bike. So he gets his bike and he walks straight head on into this truck and he's pancaked, falls flat on his back. His mom says, he's fine, he's fine. He has a helmet on. I'm like, and I had to keep myself from just laughing hysterically because it was so funny. But you know, she's a very good mom, just different techniques, and I'm sure at some point he's gonna go to the bathroom inside. But anyway, that's a little quick thing on what my weekend was like, which was crazy. But I am so happy to have returning Allyson Lovina Phelan. Uh, she is an incredible, incredible person with an unbelievable story. And we're going to get into a totally different aspect of it today. Last week, we talked about her journey as well as dealing with her children at that time. So, what I'd like to do is bring Allison on. Please reintroduce yourself. Tell us real briefly who you are, and then let's get another great conversation going. Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be back here again. So I am a stage 3 colorectal um, cancer survivor, thriver, and I'm a cancer coach. I coach people through their treatment. I have a course, How to Get Through Cancer with a Smile, which is like, excuse me, a big part of my journey is that looking at the bright side, the positive side, laughing, even though like you're in severe pain or you're just exhausted, but still it's really important to have that mindset. And then I have a store, an Amazon store where there's all kinds of products, books, lotions, things that will help you get through your treatment. And gosh, what else? There's more. I just can't think of it right now. I do a lot of public speaking. I go to events, I go to churches. I don't really share so much about my journey. What I share is what I learned during the process and how my journey was difficult, but other people seem that were going through even a more challenging journey. I just started naturally talking to them because I like to talk a lot. I'm a big talker. Mark knows that. If you get in the elevator with me, you're going to be talking. You're like, oh, please let me off this elevator. Um,
Like my
so
wife, by the way.
Oh, okay. I'm sure we'd have wonderful conversations. So then I started doing videos. So on YouTube, right after my treatment, I started videoing like just little things about, the differences between doctors or what to do during chemo day. And then life was like so busy for me. I really didn't have any more time. And then COVID came. So I was lucky to take the videos and upload them. They were still like there on the flash drive and then started making my own. And now it's called the Cancer Show and I'm on all of the platforms, not so much Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, mostly Facebook and TikTok. I love this. I feel like um having cancer is like a backwards blessing. And I had wonderful doctors and a wonderful group of supporters, cheerleaders, my team, Allison team. My friends, actually, I never mentioned this last week because I wasn't thinking about it, but my friend, and this is like a really good idea. It's called Helping Hands. There's actually more than one website, but Helping Hands, I think it's hands with an S. You can sign up and then you get everybody's email and then you put down the things that that person needs and like mine was filled immediately, like helping me take the children if I needed a ride, if they need to get my medication. Everything was done, and they all got together and um they gosh, it's a food service. So you could just like check what you wanted, and then every day we would get this amazing meal, like 5-star meal, which I couldn't eat any of it because I wasn't eating. I was living on like crackers and my orange drink, which I will never drink again. Um, and so there's just very, very blessed to have this wonderful community, even strangers that didn't know me but knew about it, like because I was in 2 different schools as a mom. So yeah, I feel like my journey was I don't want to say, of course, it was extremely painful, but there were so many good things about it and so many blessings. And when you're done, you're either angry, depressed, or happy, or maybe all of those things. But for me, when I was out, I was like, I looked at everything differently after that. Like, really, I really think you have to go through something traumatic to really understand what grateful means. Like, really.
I completely agree. That is such a great point. Um, I think your back needs to be flat against the wall with no way but to move forward and figure out a better way. And I met a woman who told me, and I was shocked by this, absolutely shocked. She said, I asked her a question. I said, has cancer changed you at all? And she looked at me and right away said, no, not at all. I'm the same person. I'm like, really? You're the first person I've ever met. And I have met hundreds and hundreds of people who say, you know, some people say it's changed my life for the better, some in between, some negatively. It just depends on the situation. But to have somebody say that cancer did not change their life at all was shocking, absolutely shocking to me. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. But, everybody is different and everybody's journey is different, and we all take, different things from a cancer journey. So, I mean, have you ever heard that before, Allison?
Not that, but I've met people that don't want to talk about it, which is
Mhm.
fine. And because when I do like my Zooms or my lives, if I'm doing cancer-centric workouts or meditations, some people don't want to be in a group. So I'll just
Mhm.
like do a one-on-one. Some people do want to be in a group. So I respect those people. Like for them, it's just too much for them, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't even want anybody to know about it. And in the old days, that was the thing. Like,
Mhm.
if you had cancer, shame on you. Like, it was a shaming thing. So um I don't, like, of course I don't know this person, but I don't think you can go through cancer and not be changed in one way or another. Maybe she's still in denial. Maybe she's still stuck. And this is like, really, if it's stage one and maybe like a little tiny procedure, like, okay, but
No.
three, like three and four, come on, that's emotionally traumatic on every level. But who
The
knows?
interest the interesting thing about this woman was she is a very analytical person,
Oh,
you
okay.
know. So I think you kind of, you know, gathered, maybe she didn't want to admit it or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. But uh, let's talk about somebody who uh, is near and dear to your heart. Let's talk about your sister. Would you like to share about that?
Yes, I would love to. I would like to share her story. I feel it's way more uh tragic than mine, and it's just so strange. There's four children. I have two elder brothers, and then my sister, and then me. Two of us had cancer in the family. Not even the same cancer. Um, so we were 6 years apart, but we were always like this, like this.
Oh,
And I was a little,
she was older than you?
yeah, she was 6 years older. She is. It's hard for me to say was. So yeah, we're 6 years apart. So I was the little sister. So of course I wanted to follow her and do everything. When she would order, I would order. When she was like in her teenage years, she'd be like, "You order for something?" No. She's like, "Yes, you have to." I'm like, "No." Like, I would steal her clothes. because I wanted to look like her. And she's just a wonderful, wonderful sister. Like you couldn't have asked for a better sister. So my father was a lineman for the county. You know those huge towers? My dad would build those.
Mhm.
So I'm Canadian, but I have dual citizenship. My because my dad came here. He worked on the Hoover Dam, and we were here for 5 years. So Pennsylvania, that's where I was born, Pennsylvania. Never been there except when I was born. And then Miami and then Las Vegas. So we were all there. And my dad would like, he'd have to go away sometimes for like 3 weeks because he'd go up into the mountains and he was like the foreman. And so we when he came back, my mother's father was ill. So we had to go, we all left and we went back to her town. Now, this town is called Trail, British Columbia, and they have a company called Kaminko. And I'm not exactly sure, but they basically turn metals into gold or they make the get like it's like a oh gosh, I can't think of the name right now, but it's like and like a iron ore kind of
Oh, they smelt.
a smelter. There we go. There you go. That's chemo brain is still alive in my brain. So yeah, so we called it the smelter exactly. But it's Kaminko, and I believe it's the biggest one in North America. And now it's really big. But back in those days, this was like 1972, around that time, the smoke that was coming out was black.
Ooh.
Of course, I'm like five about that time, 4 or 5, and we lived there for 2 years. And my sister was like crushing it. She's always an A student. She um she was winning at the when they would have public speaking events, she would win. She was an amazing skater, figure skater, and she was amazing at track and field and her writing. Oh, she's such an amazing writer. Just everything in her life was going perfectly. And we were all living a great life. And then she got, I think it was tonsillitis. And so they went to the doctor and he said, I think it could be more than that. And he said that you need to go to Vancouver because that's where the children's hospital is, Vancouver. Because Trail's just a little tiny, tiny town, though they don't have like a big hospital. So when he got back the results, he said that she had leukemia. I'm gonna cry through this whole thing. And that's okay because they're tears of love, tears of love. And so my dad that they drove to Vancouver, but I'll never ever forget that morning. My dad leaned over and he kissed me. My dad had tears in his eyes and never saw my dad like that. And I didn't really know what was going on. I just know that they were going to Vancouver because my sister wasn't well. And so my aunt took care of me. My mom came from six, there were six of them. So four uncles and my aunt um, took care of us. And
That's exactly what I have in my family.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
same. So I was definitely lucky to have that, my cousins and everybody took care of us, especially my aunt. And then my mom came back to get me and my brothers. And my dad before we left Vancouver, my dad had built a house for my mom, for the family, up on a hill called Blue Ridge in North Vancouver, because I'm a North Vancouver kind of girl. And so back then it was just a lot of woods and people were just, you know, either the houses were already built. There wasn't a lot of houses there. Now it's like full. And so we went back to our home, which was beautiful. We had a lot of land and trails, and we would walk to school. Actually, our elementary school was right behind our house, but to go to high school, we all walked. We go through the woods. We just everybody walked together. And so my sister had to go into the hospital, and mm,
How old is she at
she
this
was
time?
12. She's 12. I'm 6. She's 12. And the doctors told my mom that she only had 2 months. And I don't know any of this because I'm 6. I don't know. I just like we're at the hospital. But here's my mom. My dad's working. And back in those days, the only thing that they really had was Easter seals. So I think about my mom. Gosh, she must have been in her 30s going through that all by herself. And there was no communication or like the support that we have now. It wasn't like that. And all the patients, they were in a big room, like a big room, and there'd be like 3 beds here, and then I don't know, 5 here, and then 5 here, or just several people her age with leukemia. And I remember going into the room one day, and the one of the beds was empty. And then my sister told us that her friend had passed away. Really hard. And that happened more than once. And I don't even know what I was thinking. I didn't know that she was that sick. And she didn't die. She beat it. They were doing so much chemotherapy and radiation back then, and she had cobalt. Yeah, my siblings, they had to get they had to see if they had the bone marrow that would match because my sister needed that, and that helped a lot. I remember going like staying there at night and going into the nurse's little kitchen, and they give us cookies. And my sister was doing, she's very good with crafts, like very good at like painting. So she was like amazing, honestly amazing. And I remember watching King Kong, like the original, and on the end of her bed. And I also remember like going home one time with my mom and listening to Queen, we will rock you. And it was raining in Vancouver, which is normal. And every time when I pass that building, yeah, I always have that. I don't know, it was just it was a sad song. And till this day when I hear it, it's hard for me to listen to. So, anyways, they released her, and she was super skinny, like anorexic, and she was still getting grade A's. And she went back to
How
her the
how old is she at this time?
she'd be like 13, she'd be 14. She's in high school. No, maybe even a little bit, like maybe like 15. I don't know exactly how many years she was in the hospital or in and out of the hospital. But yeah, it was when she was about 15. And the high school that we went to, they did not educate any of the students. And some of them were very cruel to my sister. I really wish that I had been the older sister because that would not have happened. And so she had to wear a wig. She lost her hair. And I guess one girl thought it was really funny to pull her wig off. And when she was going down the stairs, and they were laughing. the school didn't do anything about that. In those days, they just didn't want to talk about it. So I didn't know what to do. My dad, we'd be at the table, and my dad's old school Irish, my mom's Italian, so we're a loud family. And my sister couldn't, she's full, she didn't want to eat. She didn't want to eat her. She had no appetite. Like most of us going through treatment don't have an appetite. That's why we lose so much weight. My dad would get so upset with my sister, and then my sister would like start crying, and then I'd yell at my dad. Like, cancer is a family disease. It's a family disease. And my
Explain
older
that.
brother,
Explain that for those who, haven't had that experience.
it affects everybody. Usually the mother um, usually have the most of the burden because she's the one standing by their child, going to the hospital, taking care of her. Not that my dad didn't, but my dad was working, he was providing. Um, but they didn't, nobody really knew how to deal with this. And then my eldest brother, he went to University, Victoria, so he was preoccupied with that. And then my other brother, he was my brother and my sister were so close. I don't think my brother could really handle it. So he spent a lot of time with his friends. And honestly, we weren't there a lot. So I understand that. But my mom did an amazing job. She never cried. She never yelled. She always was so, like, I think back and I'm like, gosh, it's amazing. Always positive, always up. I didn't know that my sister was possibly dying. My mom, my mom is a saint all by herself, 4 kids, and getting through this because her family wasn't there. So she graduated from school, and then her friend, this is probably about, I don't know, 2 years after she came out of the hospital, and her friend asked her to go visit her in Washington, and they were going to go uh what's it called, like river rafting. They went river rafting, and my sister got pneumonia,
Hmm.
had to send her back, and she was put back in the hospital. She had a high fever, and they put her in an ice bath, and she was shivering and her lips were blue. And my mom kept saying, like, you have to stop that. She's like, no, we have to do that. And it made it even worse. So her her diagnosis was worse than before. Oh no. Not every nurse or doctor is perfect. So I'm sure they were doing the best, but it was a big problem. So now the cancer's back. Now she has leukemia. And I'm a little bit older now. And we went through the whole thing. But this time, when she came out, her hair was not really going to grow back again, just a little bit. And her brain wasn't as sharp as before. And, you know, she worked for my cousin with this company called ICBC. And my cousin, she had started this program about seatbelts, keeping your seatbelts on. And my sister worked for her, and she went to Hawaii. I mean, we did a lot of things. Um, she was slower, like her body was slower. And when I came to Los Angeles about, I don't know, 4 years later, she came and she lived here with me and my husband, well, almost my husband at that time. And she just she did okay. She was here for a couple years, but she was deteriorating. So so after the couple years, she went back to Vancouver, and then they moved to my mom's hometown of Trail. And they came to visit me. So she was in Trail. She was studying. She wanted to be a teacher. Ah, so sad. And she came to visit me. Would come to visit me, and we would travel and things like that. But she was at the top of the escalator. We were at a shopping center, right? And then she was at the top, and my kids were really little then, and we were at the bottom. I'm like, "Oh, come on, come on!" And she was just standing, and she was looking at the escalator. She couldn't. She didn't know when. She couldn't be in sync with stepping on to the escalator. And I was like, huh, that's strange. And then I started watching her, and it was really hard for her to sit down and up. And from that point on, she just went down and down. And a couple of years they've been in Trail. And it was time for my mom to go into a nursing home, which is very normal in Trail. Like there's like two of them, and your cousins in there, or your friends are there that you went to school with, and they do a great job. And then my sister went there. So my sister, she must have been, I don't know, 45 at that time, was with a bunch of seniors. And every time I would come to visit, which was twice a year, she declined to the part. Um, I mean, to the time till she could not walk or feed herself, bathe herself, clothe herself. She couldn't go in. She's pretty much a vegetable. She could talk. She would mumble. I would feed her. It's a very difficult process to watch. And right before COVID, I couldn't I couldn't stand to see her living like that anymore. There was no there was no reason for her to be suffering like that. And so that night when I was visiting and she was in bed, and so I went into her bed and I laid with her and I said, "It's okay. You you can go." She didn't want to leave my mom. I know her because my mom and my sister and I did so much together. You know, they called us the Three Musketeers. And I said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of mom." And then a couple a couple months later, she passed away. And what hurts me the most is that all she wanted to do was get married and have a baby. Simple. She never had the opportunity, maybe a couple of days, but she lost her life at 12, the life that she should have been able to live. And that the whole process is so much tragic and difficult for me than my own journey.
So I'm so sorry that all that happened. What did you take away from your sister's journey that influenced your journey?
She never complained. She was strong. She laughed. Anything that I wanted to do, she'd do it. We go dancing. She loved oh my gosh, country singer. What's his name? Travis. I can't remember. Um, he sang "I'm Gonna Love You Forever." Randy Travis. She loved him. She'd go to his concerts. we did a lot of things together. She never talked about, like, she never complained about it, about anything. And even though when she was slowing down, and by the way, I found out from her doctor, I was asking, like, why is this happening? Why is she deteriorating like this? She had so much chemo. Back in those days, it was just like chemo, radiation. Now it's like this, right? And so she had so much that she had a little like opening in her skull, in her brain. So it kept on expanding. When it expanded, more of all of her function to walk or talk, it just went down and down. And it's called encephalopathy. Encephalopathy. If you look it up, it's usually it's not just chemo, but it's like other people will have that. And the people from the Children's Hospital in Vancouver said that out of the group, because she was like a part of a study, that she was the last one to live, which I thought that was pretty awesome. So I would say about my sister, like that she's fire. She didn't lay down. She wasn't angry. She wasn't depressed. She was an example to like everyone who knew her because she never like she didn't put all of her energy into her disease. She put her energy into her life and her family and her friends. And we had a great time. We had a great time. Um, she's a hero. My sister is a hero and an amazing example for other people that are going through their journey. Just an incredible person. And so like she never said why me. Never. Never ever said that. Poor me. Never. It's my mom too. You know, my mom really taught us how to think. And I'm just so blessed to have a great sister like that. And when my journey came up, it was similar. We were similar.
So, when you were diagnosed with cancer, how much did your sister's journey influence your journey?
Well, I just followed her steps, keep myself alive, do everything that I can to do the things that I love, that I still love to do. That for me was to be with my children, um, to do my best, like she did with her awards that she would get every year. She would also sing in the choir. Nothing stopped her. Her resilience, her optimism, her bravery, her love, her compassion for others. She was the person that I would always go to when I had a problem. Now I just talk to her, and I think she gives me the answer that I need to know. I see hummingbirds too. I believe that's her visiting. So her way of thinking, I believe, is the reason why she made it through the second time when she relapsed. Because there was again, she's probably not going to make it, but she did. She's a survivor thriver, like survivor thriver. And I used to feel so guilty because, I was busy dancing and acting, like modeling, like not big modeling, just like in Vancouver, things like that. Cheerleader for the BC Lions, which is kind of like the Rams here. And I did a lot of pageants as Miss Teen Vancouver, and my sister was my coach. My sister was beside me. We did everything together. We picked out the dresses. She would write my speeches because you have to do speeches. She would like, I would have to like do the walk the ramp. She would watch me. Like we did everything together, and never, ever did she show an ounce of jealousy. She was so supportive of me. And I was doing everything in my power to make her feel important. And she was, like, she really was for me. My mom and my sister were my pillars. My sister, she was my guide. And so I always looked up to her, and I still do. Never, ever a negative thought. Can you, like, I never saw her break down and say, why me? And people love to say that, why me? And you know what I answered to that? Well, why not you?
Hmm.
Like, what, are we special? Maybe we're special if we can look at it from a positive point of view. But what about Walt Disney? What about Steve Jobs? Um, God doesn't go or like you just don't get cancer. Like, what about the babies? Like, why the babies? The babies, like, well, if you're saying why me, you really have to get that thought out of your mind because it's not because you've done anything wrong or anything bad or it's karma. It's either hereditary or it just happens, but it has nothing to do with like, oh, you're being punished.
It's really well
So,
said because,
yeah.
you know, that's exactly what you just said is exactly the same thing I said. And so it's exactly. I said, why not me? What makes me so special? And God wouldn't put this in my path unless he knew I could handle it. And so I think the sooner a person can resolve that in their mind, the better off that they are moving forward. Because uh, I knew that I could handle it, and I knew I could handle it right off the bat. And so it was exactly what you just said. Why not me? You know, I am no different than, some of the people I see um, at the hospital or the facility, and I always wondered whenever I went to the facility is the thing that would go through my mind is what is your story? Because I mean, it's like you're living in the land of the zombies when you go there, and you don't see life, in a lot of people, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my last question for you is this. We've come a long way as far as our cancer journey goes.
Mhm, mhm.
Cancer, I think we're starting to make a breakthrough as far as the old stigma. The old stigma is, you get cancer and it's a death sentence. And I think we're starting to erode that old stigma, which takes a long time because it's been so embedded in our culture and so embedded in the culture throughout the world. What you learned from your sister, how would you, what is the biggest thing that you would like to share with everyone as the greatest lesson from her life?
To be the example of somebody who's going through a very traumatic part of their life and turn that tragic into joy and
That is
gratefulness and happiness.
that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Allison, as you know, we have a lot more to talk about, so I'd like to invite you back to shoot a part three because there's
we,
so much so
we
much
gotta
more
do
we need.
part.
And I know why you're laughing too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've never had the chance to tell my sister's story. Um, I think on the next round of like public speaking, I'm just gonna tell my sister's story. It's also hard for me, like obviously. I whenever I think about my journey, I'm like, it's nothing compared to what my sister went. You know, when you're a teenager, you have to wear a wig. Like, oh my gosh, like, ah, Lord. Um, so thank you for bringing that up and for allowing me to share this with you and your viewers and making me feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable
No,
because you
thank
know
you.
I'm very strong. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing something so incredibly personal with us. And it's also very therapeutic to be able to do that
Yes.
because we hold in
Yes.
these things, for so long and to finally let it out, it's very enlightening for us as human beings. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate you sharing. And
Thank
thank you
you.
everyone for joining us here at the Be Your Own Hero. Please like, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section. And life can turn in an instant. Life is short. I mean, I think Allison and I, and, with her sister's journey and my sister's journey as well, we both
Yeah.
have lost
Yeah.
a sister. And life can change in a moment's notice, in a second, in a split second. So what you have today, what you have right now, may not be what you have tomorrow. So make sure you appreciate what you have and live life to its absolute fullest because you never know when it's our time. And when it's our time, we don't have a chance to go back and say, I wish I would have done this. Do it today. Make the most out of each and every day. Thank you so much for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. We will see you next week with part three of our interview with Allison. And take care, everybody. Be blessed and have a great week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.